Hi everyone, it is Ellie Mae with Silhouette Secrets Plus, and I am here today to unbox this brand new Cameo Pro. Look at this box. This is awesome. 24 inches of cutting space. We're going to take a look at what's in the box and set it up. First, I have a tape measure here to show you how large this box is. So what you're going to notice here is this corner is a little dinged up, but it is 24 inches of cutting width. And the box itself is about 39 inches long. So it is not heavy as a machine, but it is something that you might want to have help with carrying it up or down some stairs if you have to. So just keep that in mind. I do baby my machines and make sure that they are taken care of. I would never want to drop one of them. So this is awesome. So today we are going to open up this box and take a look at what's inside. So let's get started and see if I can actually get this sucker out of the box. Just like your other boxes, you have more information on the back side. You have project ideas on the lid. So there is some information on the back side of this machine. Some more information over here to give you some tips. When we open it up, you also have a little bit of information right here on this side of this box inside the lid. So in addition to, see, it's almost too tall for me. In addition to the setup steps that are enclosed in the box, we'll see that card here in just a second, you also have this website right here on the lid inside the box. So I would recommend that you go here and you get your machine set up, whether you are a first-time user or this is another machine for you. You will need to update the software. So that is the first thing that you're going to want to do. You're going to have to update your software to the version that is released that has this Cameo Pro active. So you cannot use an older version of the software with it because the Cameo Pro wasn't released back then. So it's not backwards compatible. You will have to update the software on the website. Inside, there is a setup instruction sheet. It again lists the same website for the setup and it gives you the instructions to set this up. So that's the number one most important thing. Then what we have here is some parts that are taped together. Inside of this little bag, we'll open this one up. Some product information. You have a USB cable. You want to make sure to go through all the parts of the packaging that's enclosed because things can be placed in there for shipping. In this machine, we have the auto blade for the Cameo 4. We have a Silhouette wrench, and we have the blue sketch pen adapter. We're going to set this aside, come back to it. We're just going to get everything out of the box. Another box of parts. And then we have a cardboard piece. Don't throw this away. You want to open this up. There are pieces inside of it. You have your power adapter and another part in here. Next, we have the cutting mat. Look at this. Turn it around here. We have a cutting mat that has 24 inches by 24 inches. Look at that size of that mat. Okay. And now we're going to figure out how to get this sucker out of the box. So very carefully, it is packaged. I'm going to just set that down in front. Hope it doesn't. Okay. Packaged very well. You got your styrofoam I'm going to go ahead and take this off. And then we can start unwrapping this baby. The 24 inches of cutting width. Nice shiny white material. And then you want to make sure to remove all the packing tape and any of the packing foam that is inside the machine. So there's some on the front, there's some on the back, and there's going to be some on the inside, just like all the Cameo machines come with. So we're going to go ahead and start there. And you just want to be careful. You don't want to rip it off like a Band-Aid. Go slow. There is a protective cover. There's a little green flag here, protective cover on the side panel. Also a protective cover on the top panel here too. So keep that in mind. It is going to be very difficult to see, but there is also a Silhouette logo on the machine itself. It's the same color, but I can see it from this angle. Same thing on this side. Have another green flag up here and can take the protective cover off. And then our green flag over here, we can take the protective cover off. Now, I'm going to turn this around very carefully. And you're going to see that there is packing tape on the back. This is your cross cutter that's back here. Anytime you would have an issue where your cutting mat or your vinyl is not feeding correctly through the machine and it is cutting over top of each other, you want to check this cross cutter and make sure that it's not down or that the cross cutter itself is not in the middle, because if it's hitting that, it's not going to go and flow freely through the machine. So we'll go ahead and take that off. Here's our cross cutter. You flip it down, and when you want to cut your vinyl, this is probably going to be very important for those who are cutting off of a 24-inch roll. When you set the software up to have it feed out the back side of the machine, you can use the cross cutter, advance your vinyl, and this little blade right here will cut the vinyl for you. You want to make sure that your cross cutter is on the very edge, out of the way, and then you want to make sure to flip that back up so that it comes through the machine. If the cross cutter is flipped down, it's going to block that cutting mat or the vinyl coming through. So make sure that's up and locked in place. Now we'll take a look back here at the front. So we have our sliding top, and we have a little bit different new setup here for the Cameo Pro. Again, this is my first time opening the box and first time seeing the actual machine. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remove this packing material. And I'm going to turn this just a little bit of an angle so it's easier for me to see. There's a piece of packing foam right here. So just carefully remove that. Take it out. I just like to double check that there's nothing else that you might need in there. Make sure there's no packing material there. And then carefully, very carefully, as long as the machine is unplugged, you can move this blade housing. Just be very careful when you do so. We're going to take this blue protective tape off. And on the Pro, you have the tool housing just like the Cameo 4 and the Cameo Plus. Same tool housing. There is a piece of packing foam inside of here, and there's another piece of packing foam hidden back in here. So on this Cameo Pro, it is similar to the other Cameo 4s. We have our loading lines over here on the left-hand side. We have an adjustment area for you to adjust your blades. So you could adjust your ratchet blade in here or your auto blade. We have also arrows where you can move the roller and to grip the vinyl. So wherever there is arrows, that indicates where the roller could be moved to. So it is just a little bit different setup here with this roller bar. Again, this is my first look, so we're going through it together. You also have your roller lever lock. So if you notice, when up is locked, when I flip it down, it lifts this bar so we're able to move the roller. And it's a sliding roller on this one. So the only side that moves, you'll notice, is this side here on the right. It's going to be your right, my left. So lift it up. And then we have these little guides here. You would move along. And you have your roller. When you lock it in place, this doesn't move. Unlock it, it slides across. Move these little guys back to where they were. And then you're going to lock it in place. Okay, so I was able to unpackage all of this. You don't need to see me fight on camera with the plastic packaging and the little twisty ties. So I have taken all of that apart, so it's all ready to go. And we have our pieces over here for our roll feeder and our supports. So I'm going to show you how that gets assembled onto the machine. First, you have your power cord. One end goes into the machine on this side. And then you have your second part of your power cord that gets connected. You want to make sure your connection is secure so that your machine will power on. And then you have your USB cable if you are connecting by USB to the computer. Something to note, just like the Cameo 4 and the Plus, you do need the USB connection in order to update the firmware, which is automatic. The software checks for it when you open the software and go to the Send tab. So you want to keep this handy because you will need it. And you'll need to connect it the first time by the USB cord in case there is a firmware update. You want to make sure to plug the USB plug in the correct way. I have seen users who have been plugging it in upside down and then it won't connect. So make sure that you're getting that in there properly. And then we have these pieces over here. So first we're going to go ahead and install our auto blade. It does have the tool recognition on the back side. It is just like the Cameo 4 and the Plus. So we're going to carefully pull the locking mechanism out on the front. We're going to push down on the blade, lift up carefully on the housing, and you're going to push that in so those hooks grab that auto blade. You want to make sure that there is no gap at all between the lip of the blade and the housing. This is very important on all machines. If you have a gap between the blade and the housing, it is not going to adjust properly and you will have cut issues. You will have cutting issues until this is corrected. So now we have some of these pieces. You're going to notice that these pieces have grooves on either end. Those are for a purpose. So I'm going to set these out here. And you have one skinny piece with a groove. You want the large groove towards the machine. And then you have a bar. So first I'm going to set it up for the cutting mat. You have this large piece in the center. This is going to be a support for your cutting mat. And the large groove is on towards the machine. Now you're going to carefully lift your machine up and you're going to notice some slots here. This is where these little pieces sit in. It's going to be much easier for you to do this looking at it from the front of the machine. This side you have a skinny groove, and then you have a larger groove. Now you have your cutting mat support. We're going to lift it up again, and it just sets on there. So when you have these in, they're going to be in there solid. Right now they have just a little bit of wiggle room, and that's where the stability bar comes in. We're going to place that right there so it keeps those in line where they're supposed to be. So now, if you were to use the cutting mat, when we go to line this up, you're going to line it up with the arrows on the left, and your mat is supported farther out of your machine. So it is a support for this cutting mat as it's rolling in and out, and that will help it to feed in aligned and not be hanging down. I would also suggest, now this table is not what I would be using the machine on. I would suggest a larger table that your mat can roll freely all the way through front and back. Keep in mind, this is now a 24-inch width cutting machine. That also means that you're going to need the clearance behind the machine so it does not hit anything as it's rolling in and out. If your material hits something on the back side or on the front, it's going to cause that cut to be off. So this is if you're using a cutting mat. Just set that aside. When you're not using a cutting mat, you want to carefully remove this little mat support. Make sure your other feet didn't move, and then place your stability bar back in there. Now, I'm going to take it apart for a second. This has rollers here for your vinyl, for your material. This is how it's going to roll that roll of material. Let it freely roll. So now that we have this, what you're going to notice is this one here is capable of sliding. So here are your ends for your stability, and then you're able to adjust this depending on the size roll you have. So I'm going to slide it out here, and I'm just taking a roll of Aura mask that I just grabbed to use as a demonstration. So you have a 24-inch roll of vinyl, and you're going to place it in here. You can slide this one over so it's on the edge. And then what you'll notice is that your vinyl is going to roll on these rollers. And that is your Cameo Pro out of the box. Neat little machine, 24-inch cutting width. It's going to be awesome. Can't wait to show you what I make with it. Thank you. Have a great day.